All right, here's something that I've always thought. I don't know. The UFC, I never really was a big fan of the UFC when they were a smaller organization. Let's see if we can fix this camera up a little bit right here. There we go. Like back when like Pride was around and the UFC was around. And also back then I used to watch other organizations fight. I used to watch Bodog fights, and there was a lot of different MMA that was going on. And I really liked Strikeforce in its heyday. I thought they just were putting on great fights, and it was really entertaining. And I thought more entertaining than the UFC. The UFC is the most entertaining now because that's where all the good fighters are. I don't watch Bellator. I just don't watch Bellator. Yeah, but back in the day, I used to watch all different organizations, and a lot of it was just because I could watch Bodog fights for free, and I could watch more organizations, and it was easier to watch them, it seemed like, than the UFC. But now it's like everything is the UFC, and it's like it's getting a little bit boring, because before you would go and you would watch maybe a Strikeforce fight. You'd watch Fedor Brett Rogers, and just different announcers and all this, and just a different atmosphere. And then you would go and you'd watch whatever fights were taking place in the UFC at that time. And Strikeforce is a perfect example. it was just really more exciting than the UFC during certain periods. Think of Nick Diaz, Paul Daly, when these fights were going down. It was really exciting. There was nothing in the UFC that was on par with that. It really was, and it was kind of boring, in my opinion, for quite a while. But I still watched it, and it wasn't boring because we were watching excitement in other places. Other stuff was going on. Oh, Affliction! Remember when Affliction came out? It seemed a little bit more exciting. I'm the type of person, I get bored quickly. That's why I no longer watch. I used to be a huge basketball fan. Growing up in Chicago, we had Michael Jordan. So I kind of got spoiled watching Jordan. And after Jordan left, I kind of lost interest because the skill level, it just wasn't exciting without Jordan, but the atmosphere and everything was the same. It just got stale to me. Mixed martial arts came along, and I got more into watching MMA. Now, I made a list real quick, didn't take me long, of things that the UFC could do to not get boring. Because guys, I'm going to be honest with you, I get a little bit bored of the UFC, the announcers, and it's getting a little bit monotonous. So I've made a list of some things to make the UFC less boring, to mix it up a little bit, and it would just be so much more entertaining. And I believe the fighters would like it too, because guys, fighters, they get bored too. There's nothing worse than doing a job that you get burnt out on. Okay, so if you could add anything to spice up what they're doing too, it's going to be they're going to be more excited to come out. It's just going to be a feel-good atmosphere. First one was Pride Ring. Bring back I said Pride Ring because it was a big ring, but there was a lot of fights going down in rings. Bodog fights were going. A lot of those were in rings. I'm not sure if all of them were. I can't really remember any. I don't know, but I remember definitely there was rings in some Bodog fights, and the ring was in Affliction. They had the ring. The ring was cool. The big ring was cool. And I like the octagon too. But why not have both? How cool would that be? Like some of these bigger guys, especially in the heavyweight division, they push guys up against the cage. You wouldn't be able to do that. You don't get to do that as much with the ring. It changes the way guys are going to fight. It mixes things up. It's going to make guys train in different ways. They're going to get less bored. And as far as betting goes, it's going to be like, look at an example of this is tennis. Now, I don't watch tennis, but I'm familiar with it, and I used to watch it when I was a kid, and I would just be laying around the house. They'd be playing tennis on grass. They'd be playing tennis on asphalt. They'd be playing tennis on, what were they playing on? Clay? They were playing, it was all different things, and you could track ooh, this guy's a better player than this other guy on grass, even though the other guy's better. So you could, it's going to mix things up. It's going to take, it's just going to be more exciting. Okay, that was one. The second one was, I put pride rules, but not all out pride rules, just, have something where, kicks to the downed opponent to the head. Things that are more violent. Because I like the more pure mixed martial arts, fighting. Okay? Now, yeah, you can't like gouge people's eyes out and bite them and do things like this. But I do like, hey, that's a huge thing to take away. Like the way guys fought in Pride, I mean, it's like, it was just a little bit more hardcore. And, compared to what some of the guys, do these days. I mean, you see guys just lay down in the cage. Like, they'll get punched and they'll just lay down because they don't want to stand up, hoping the guy will jump on top of them, But you're probably not going to see that, like in Pride, someone just lay down, because that's going to come up and just stomp you until you're out cold. You know what I mean? It was just a little bit more extreme. Another one I put was more stand-ups. Okay, and the reason I say this is going to make the UFC more exciting on a lot of different levels. I mean, what you have now is you have wrestler lay and pray fighters, which they're wrestlers, but they're really not wrestling at this point. They're laying on top of the guy. They're acting like they're like they're doing punches. They're on top and they're doing these little punches like this. But let's be honest, they're not really fighting. They're not trying to finish the fight. I'm not saying they're not wearing down their opponent, but they are, because the other guy's trying to get them off them. But it's really, really boring to watch. Now, if they could only do that for a limited time, say 15 seconds, without any real action, 15. You can only do 15 seconds of this. Now, remember, that's a long time. And you either got to try and throw some full volume punches, go for a submission, do something, or they stand you up. Okay, now, not only is this going to make it more exciting because they'll stand them up, it's going to force the wrestlers, like someone like GSP. GSP is afraid to, like, all of a sudden jump out and go for an armbar, okay, which he probably has many times in many of his fights. He maybe could have set that up and gone for an armbar, but he doesn't go for the armbar because he doesn't want to lose his position. Okay? He doesn't do that. Now, if he's going to get stood up in like 3 seconds, maybe he'll go for it. Now they're not going to stand you up because they see you going for an armbar. And it's going to add excitement for that reason too. It's going to force the guys to do more things on the ground rather than just lay and pray, which that's really what's going on. I mean, it's I talked about that in some other videos. It's just like it's like a ruse. It's like they're cheating the system a little bit, and it's boring, and we don't want to watch that. Now, okay. The fourth one I wrote down, I'm saving for the very end because it's the best one. So, less hype. Less hype, guys. Just put on fights. Let's watch some fights. There's a lot of hype, and it's guys, I'm getting kind of. It's to the point where it's kind of hokey. It's not even really real, and I can tell it's not real. And I don't even want to bring up some of it just because I don't even want to give these people publicity. Not that that many people really watch my videos, but like Ryan Bader, we just seen Daniel Cormier, and Ryan Bader's up there and doing all this. It's like, man, we don't want to watch this. It's like, this isn't even real. Like Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz throwing water bottles and things and throwing up middle fingers and all this, like again, throwing water bottles at KJ Noon's father. I don't know if they were actually doing that, but stuff like that, giving people the finger to, like, did Nick Diaz like give the finger to like Cyborg's wife, you know, to and stuff like that? I mean, that's real. There's in Pride, there's a guy, he snaps a guy's arm, breaks his arm, and then gives him the middle finger right in his face. I mean, now they obviously had some serious words before the fight to where not only did he just snap your arm, now he's giving you the middle finger, which a lot of people would say, okay. But hey, there's some serious bad blood there, and it's not just hype like we're kind of seeing in the UFC now. And to me, I'd rather keep it pure fighting. If there's bad blood, you know what I mean, if it's real, then hey, that's fine. But I don't like the hype. And the guys are getting rewarded for this hype or fake hype by getting the publicity, getting bigger fights from it, and we need less of that. I'm not saying completely, redo everything, but talking your way into fights, guys, that's lame. That's stupid. We don't need that. We need less of that. Okay, outside fights. Let's have some fights outside, man. Have some fights like, can you imagine like a fight going down like UFC in Puerto Rico, and it's outside? And you got Puerto Rican girls like outside, like at the beach, and the cameras are showing the audience, and you got chicks like in thongs, and it's just a different atmosphere. Let's mix it up. We got these people all over the world, and you wouldn't know it. They could all be in the same place. I mean, the arena looks the same. I mean, you could tell like the difference between them being in Ireland and being somewhere else, and you could still tell it. But let's mix it up a little bit, and let's incorporate some outside fights. I know they don't like to do that because of the weather, but hey, you know what? Figure something out, and just have it in a place where, I don't know, a tropical place where, who knows? Maybe they're fighting and it's drizzling a little bit. Let's mix it up. Let's make it exciting. Okay, so that's another one. Let's see here. Different lights, different lighting. It's like watching the same UFC thing over and over, and we'll just throw this in there. Mix up the announcers. We get the same announcers. And we get Joe Rogan, who I like Joe Rogan, but don't you think it would be better if it was, without me being a negative Nancy, a sour Sally, bringing up people and then saying, oh, this guy is no good, I don't like this guy. Don't you think it would be more exciting if it was Joe Rogan and Boss Rutan? Who's the other guy that announced for K1? Chiavello, Mario Chiavello, is that how you pronounce his name? I'm not like a huge fan of his. It's a little bit too much, but like, man, go watch when Badr Hari knocks out Overeem. I mean, talk about an announcer getting excited and just making it that's cool here. I mean, why not have different announcers? Mix things up a little bit, okay? Let's see here. And last but not least, look, I could go on and on. There's a lot of different things that could make the UFC better. But, man, I tell you what, man, you got to get... Oh, this was one I forgot. Not always have 3-round fights. Not always have 5-round fights. Just because a fight is for the title doesn't mean it should necessarily be a 5-round fight. We've seen some pretty boring 5-round fights that, in my opinion, would have been better fights if they had made them 3 rounds. A perfect example of this would be maybe GSP versus Johnny Hendricks. I mean, Johnny Hendricks beat GSP in that fight. We all know it. And as far as fighting goes, like actually hurting your opponent, that GSP was more hurt in that fight than Johnny Hendricks was. GSP is doing his fake punches, his sparring punches. I spar punched you. Guys, I could spar punch you 100 times and my heart rate doesn't even go up. Okay? It's not a real punch. It's fake. It's just a hoax. Okay? Some of the other guys throwing real punches, throwing real heat, putting all his might. You know, you throw one hard punch, your heart rate goes up. You throw one, two, three uppercuts hard, your heart rate is going to boom, climb very fast. And the other guy throws 3 fake punches. I just threw, 3 punches, my heart rate didn't go up because it's not a real punch. Someone's putting everything into it. They landed 3 punches. The other guy threw three fake ones. His heart rate's still low. You see what I'm saying? It's a hoax. Okay? So if we drop the amount of rounds down and you stop counting fake punches and we say, okay, somebody doesn't have to worry about gassing out, like Johnny Hendricks. It was his first 5-round fight. He still should have won the fight. It was like a total ripoff, and I'm not even that big of a Hendricks fan, but that was just something that, man, are you serious? Like, if that was a 2-round fight, seriously, a 2-round championship fight for the belt against GSP. Now what? GSP would have been knocked out in that fight because you would have seen some serious heat. GSP can't take those punches. I'm just using GSP as an example because I don't like the guy. I think it's bogus. The guy wouldn't have lasted a day in Pride. That's all there is to it. He would not have lasted in Pride. He would have got worked in Pride, and it's a simple fact. They stand guys up in Pride. You're not working. They stand you up. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's see here. And last but not least, hey, when I'm talking about rounds fights, you draw straws. They come out and we do rock, paper, scissors for something, or they just pick out of a hat, drop or roll dice, a dice with a 1, 2, 3s on them. Roll dice to see if it's going to be a 1-round fight, a 2-round fight, a 3-round fight. Especially with maybe some of the younger fighters, man. Why do we have to watch 3 rounds with 2 people that we don't even know who they are? And why do these guys have to go through that? The getting your brain and all this, and why do they got to do all that? They're not getting paid very much money. Make it a 1-round fight. Maybe 1 round and then double the time. Or make it, make it 2 rounds and constantly mix it up. So they don't know. It could be they draw it out of a hat even. 2 rounds, 2 10-minute rounds. Or 2 6-minute rounds. Or 3 4-minute rounds. There you go. That'd be exciting. Or how about 3 3-minute rounds? Or what if you did this? They draw it, it's 5 2.5-minute rounds. Just crazy, guys. And let's mix it up and have some fun. It'd be laughing when they pull that out. It's like 5 2.5-minute rounds. They're going to have to be okay. And it's going to let the fighters use their brain. Rather than just be programmed to be a robot, it's going to really kind of list you who's got the most wit. Who's witty here. And say, oh, I'm going to do this. They're not really going to have enough time for their coaches to be in their ear. They're going to have to, it's 2.5-minute rounds. So I'm going to be throwing some heat. You know what I mean? We're going all out. And, and then get rid of judging. This is one I've said for a long time. It's not going to happen. But I like to throw a lot of these ideas out because maybe we'll get a few in return. I've said for the longest time to get rid of judges. No more judging in MMA. Basically, the referee is the judge. If he stops the fight due to submission, if he stops the fight due to TKO, if he stops the fight due to KO, and if the fight goes the distance and it's not any of those things, they should just call it a draw. And a draw shouldn't. I suppose you could put the draw on their record. On their record, just draw, and that's it. I really think it'd be more effective though if it didn't even show up on their record. It was as if it never happened. But that'd be kind of lame. We wouldn't be able to track who's fought who. So maybe have it as a draw and then who they fought. And the pay structure should be heavily, heavily based on whether you finish the fight or not. If it's a draw, your pay should be a lot less. Guys, this is going to be more beneficial for the sport. It's going to be more exciting. Without excitement, this sport's not going to last. It's going to dwindle. I know it's continually growing, and it's a worldly sport, which is awesome. The UFC has done great with that. It's just a worldly sport now, which is amazing. Something here like American football, that's not worldly, it's just here. The mixed martial arts and UFC is a world sport, and but it could definitely use some improvement. But man, I really like that. Get rid of with this judging. No more judges at all. I don't like it. Let's get rid of it, okay? And the last but not least, better ring girls. What is with these girls? Look, this is a PG channel. I don't like to talk about sexual stuff. Usually I don't swear. Well, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. But these girls that they got in there, for lack of what I was going to say, I'm going to say, man, they are not attractive at all from a sexual standpoint. They're pretty in their face, but their bodies, there's nothing. Why don't you get some girls with some booty and some thick legs, some sexy girls, man? There's a lot of them out there. Let's see some real women up in these rings, man. Bodog used to have some hot chicks. Know who used to have good? All you gotta do is go to the strip club and get these banging chicks, man. I'm talking about booties just banging, big legs, just fine chicks, just naturally fine built chicks. All right. Remember the secret magician who used to like give away magician's secrets? Remember that guy that was on TV? Get those girls that work for him. I mean, they're probably too old now, but go see those girls. That guy had good taste in like ringside girls. They weren't ring girls, but they were kind of assistant girls. That guy had good taste in women, and that's what we need to be looking at in the UFC. And I will see you guys later.